So you've drawn all of this hard work, and if you're like me and you draw 1 to 1, i.e. whatever you're drawing is 1 millimeter to 1 millimeter on your model space, now you want to output it to the layout, which is to be able to print it on whatever printer. Down here you have some tabs. Click on layout 1 and that becomes active. Right click, page setup manager, modify. First thing first, select some kind of a printer. If you don't have any printers attached to your computer, click and drop down and select DWG to PDF. So what happens is that AutoCAD outputs your drawing in PDF format that you can send to people and print on almost any printer. Then select your page. At the moment it's displaying A4 in portrait mode. Click one up and here you have A4 in portrait mode. Just to make sure that everything looks right, also click on landscape mode. So this is landscape. Your units are 1 to 1. Also click this to scale line weights to your output. Click on OK and close. Next thing, rename. And let's say this is A4 plans. Enter. And now your tab is A4 plans. What you're looking at here is your paper space. What I'm clicking on is your viewport. Now you can delete that and you can go to View, Viewports, and select a viewport, and let's say put a viewport here. And if I double click inside that, and I can actually zoom into things that I want to see a bit better, and you can see I can zoom in and out through the viewport. If I clicked outside of the viewport and viewport is not active, I'm actually zooming in on the paper. But first of all, let's set a scale for that viewport. So if I click on a viewport and you can see the grips are active, I can go to my properties, go to standard scale, drop down on here and select 1 to 100. So now that viewport is actually set to 1 to 100. To make sure that I do not disturb the scale, I can go and click on display locked and say locked. Now even if I go into the viewport, you can see I'm zooming in and out of the viewport, but the viewport remains the same relative to my zoom. So next thing, I want to adjust that viewport and, for example, see all the elevations at 1 to 100. So what I do is adjust the grips to stretch them to the right size, and here you are. I've got grips and I'm using move, and I'm moving all of this. And remember, this is a small piece of paper, only A4, 1 to 100, quite a big scale. So there you are, I have it 1 to 100. Now if you go to print that on A4, and the way to print it is again right click, plot, and I can print it out on DWG to PDF. At this stage I don't want to print it, so click cancel. But what will happen that you will see that black border printed around. If you don't want it printed, click on def points, and my def points are always light blue, and this will not print. Alternatively, if you again select that border and you can go to layer control, select that, view port click it off so it will not print, shut it down. Then you can select that and put it into viewport. And by the way, AutoCAD actually has a viewport's own layer, but I always use def points anyway in my drawings, so nothing shows. So you can always do another viewport, view, viewports, one viewport. You can put it even outside so you can see in the whole of the drawing. And let's say I wanted to see a detail here. Okay, so there's my detail. I want that detail at, let's say, 1 to 50. So I go to properties, go into custom, 1 to 50. This is 1 to 50 scale. I will go in there again and I will lock the display, and I will adjust the viewport to the suitable size. I can click the lines to def points and then highlight it, move, and I'll just move it across to what I want. And by the way, you can take that viewport and, for example, squeeze it a bit more, give yourself more room, move it along, copy it, stretch it for the next one, adjust it, and move. Hey, you just made enough room for your detail. Now, you can work directly on paper space for things like, for example, your title block. So you go in here, watch out for the sizes. Whatever you're doing on paper space, it's in real size. So the size here you can see is 2.5, so it will appear 2.5 millimeters high. So caps lock on. So plans for house with detail. Okay, highlight this, center it. I'm going to go into the next one and drawn by beginner. Okay, now if I click that, I went into properties. By the way, properties is your best friend. I can then go in text height and, for example, put it at 1.5. Make the beginner smaller. Yeah. So now I've created a nice sort of a A4 layout. One of the things you can do, right click into that tab, move a copy. So A4 plans, create a copy, move to the end. Okay, so I've created another one. There it is, redone. So now I can change its name, rename, plans, details. Oops, forgot to take off caps lock, but I'll leave it on. Enter, and now I can work on this one and, for example, change the detail and add another detail to it in the same scale, or alter. Hopefully this has explained things and made things a